This is North Georgia's News Talk.
WDUN. This girl is on fire.
I've got radio working girl problems this Tuesday evening, folks, as we begin our hour together on Game On. Hey, I'm Katie B. You're listening on AM 550, FM 102.9, WDUN. I usually wear the same pair of earrings daily, and we're going to get to sports talk in a minute. And the reason that I wear the same pair of earrings daily is for comfort. Today, though, I decided to switch things up. I thought the mojo needed a little changing. Georgia didn't play so well this past weekend. Saints lost. Falcons lost. Braves are probably going to lose Brian McCann. I needed my mojo switched up some. So I put on a pair of earrings Santa Claus brought me maybe about 5 years ago. Nice sterling silver earrings, have some diamond in them. Bling, bling. And I realized right when I put headphones on why I never wear the earrings. Because the backs of them stick in my neck when I have on earphones. So I'm going to try to not cry at all in this hour. And I'm going to remember this moment of shared pain, my shared pain to you tomorrow when I am putting on earrings to come into work. Because let me tell you what, Katie B is in some pizzane. And that's all we're going to say about that. Coming up on this Tuesday's Game On, we're going to give away tickets to the 21st Annual Marketplace. This is an annual festive holiday shopping event most of you out there familiar with, presented by premier sponsors Medical Center Auxiliary, Willis Investment Council. It's going to be at the Gainesville Civic Center. All proceeds from Marketplace benefit radiation oncology services offered through the Cancer Center at Northeast Georgia Medical Center. And it's just a bunch of vendors that are selling a lot of cool stuff. It's $5 to get in. Not only will the tickets get you in, but they have free valet parking with them. And for those of you who have been in Marketplace before, that's the big draw, the free valet parking. So we're going to give away those tickets coming up in about 15 minutes. We're also going to talk about Brian McCann. A few news outlets have talked with his agent. And so I'm going to tell you sort of what Brian McCann is thinking at this juncture. You all know that the Braves made a one-year $14.1 million qualifying offer to the free agent. But Brian McCann expected to decline it. He's getting a lot of interest from other teams, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. Also, we're going to round out the show with my game picks. I had a pretty good week last week, went 5-2. Where I really struggled was margins of victory. Apparently, I'm not very good at picking that, especially when I say the Panthers are going to beat the Falcons by 8 and they beat them by 24. Or that Georgia's going to beat Florida by a touchdown and they win by 3. Or that the Saints will win by 14 and they lose by 6. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Not very good at that. But 5-2 last week, so make sure that you are on the listen for those game picks. All right, so yesterday we brought you an interview with Georgia Tech men's basketball coach Brian Gregory. He was kind enough to join us live on show at 7:30. That interview has been podcasted. Is that a word? Is podcasted a thing, or do you say podcast?
I think it's podcasted. Every year now, Oxford English Dictionary is upgrading their new words, and podcast, I know for a fact, is in there, and there's got to be some kind of tense or prefix.
That's what I'm saying.
It's got to be podcasted.
Because when you are in the process of doing a podcast, you are podcasting. So the past tense of podcast would be podcasted. Yeah, this is
logical.
Sounds very weird rolling off the tongue, but we digress. The podcast of the interview with Brian Gregory, the men's basketball coach at Georgia Tech, available on our Facebook page, Game On with KTB Davis, on our Twitter feed. The handle is at KTB Davis. Make sure you go check that out before the Yellow Jackets open up Friday against Presbyterian College. He gives a lot of good insight into this year's team. On that same note, in that same realm, I spoke yesterday morning with Georgia Tech women's basketball coach MaChelle Joseph. She got quite the steal with a young lady by the name of Kayla Davis, Buford star, who is now a freshman. And MaChelle Joseph is expecting big things from Kayla this year, as well as from her team. Last year they went 16-15, didn't fare so well in the SEC or the ACC, and for the first time in 6 years missed the NCAA tournament. They're looking to turn it around this year, though, get back to the NCAA tournament, do a little better in the ACC, one of the hardest conferences in women's basketball in all of the land. Do better in the ACC tournament, but more than anything, make sure that they get to that NCAA tournament. They're picked preseason to finish 5th in the ACC. I think that's lowballing it a little bit. MaChelle Joseph thinks so, too. We began our conversation simply with my asking her to assess this year's team. Give me the strengths and weaknesses.
Well, I think one of the obvious strengths of this team is our athleticism and our depth. I think this is one of the deepest teams I've had, especially on the perimeter. I feel like to be a very, very good offensive team. Right now we're still very young. 8 of our 13 players are freshmen or sophomores. So, defensively we're still trying to understand and learn the system because we do play a very complex defensive system at Georgia Tech. But very excited about the potential of this team, and I think we're definitely a team that's going to be a work in progress. We won't see our true potential till late February because it's going to be a team that's really growing throughout the course of the season. Late
February, kind of the time you want to be playing well, though, especially heading into the ACC tournament and you all trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. How big of a focus is that with this year's team? A lot of youth, but it's youth that has come to your program because of the success you've had in the postseason. So what have the conversations been like as far as getting back to the NCAA tournament where, frankly, your program belongs?
Well, I think there's no doubt that everybody in and around this program, the focus is the NCAA tournament and getting us back there. And, it was a disappointment last year not to be a part of it. And I think those players that were here, they're hungry. They're more motivated. They're excited about the opportunity of this season. And I think that ever since the season ended last year, every day our total focus and concentration has been to put in the work and the effort that it's going to take to be there in postseason. And we know that, it's hard. It's hard to make the NCAA tournament. That's why, there's only 64 teams, and we want to be one of those 64 teams, and we got to put in the work. And I think it's been an easy sell with this group because, they all want to compete and play at a very high level, and we know what the expectation of this program is, and that's to be in the NCAA tournament to play for championship.
Let's get to individual talent on your team. Obviously, senior Tiana Marshall, a key cog for you all coming into this season, but I don't think that people quite understand the level of talent that one of your freshmen has, and that's Kayla Davis, really a player, and we in this area know her well with her being from Buford. She can do everything. She can post up. She can play point guard. She can shoot the three. She can, dribble drive. She's got a great pull-up jumper. How do you plan on using Kayla, and how excited are you to have that type of talent coming into this program?
Well, obviously, we're really excited about, Tiana Marshall and her having the opportunity. She's in a position right now to be the all-time leading scorer in the history of our program, and she's on track for that. She's one of the top 25 players in the country preseason. She's a projected first-round draft pick in the WNBA. So obviously, a lot of what we do is and how we go is going to be centered around Ty. But I think the great thing for Ty is to have someone like Kayla Davis. And I think the great thing for Kayla Davis is to have someone like Ty Marshall as a running mate in the backcourt to learn from, to support her, and to play off of her. And I think those two right there, along with a couple other players that we have returning in the backcourt, like a Sydney Wallace and a Leah Whiteside, that makes us one of the best backcourts in the ACC, possibly the country. Kayla has been exceptional since the day she stepped on campus. She's been a difference maker with her work ethic and how she presents herself, her maturity level, and just being a great teammate. I mean, that's the thing I think that she's done is she's come in and she's worked hard and put herself in a position to earn a starting position and be a go-to player as a freshman. And there's no doubt that she has a total package. It's now about refining it and, making it, even taking it to another level in college and against the best players in the country at night in and night out. And that's what she's going to face in the ACC. And so it's exciting to watch her get better and as she gets more acclimated to this level and the intensity level of the practices. it's been exciting to watch her game continue to develop and get better.
Coach, have Tennessee at Tennessee, going to be a tough game, as Tennessee always is, and then Georgia at Georgia, another tough one. But really the focus on the ACC, it has come up, at least in the last decade, and has become one of the preeminent women's basketball conferences in the land. And I would even go so far as to say going beyond the SEC. Talk about the conference as a whole and you all's role in it, but really just how good it is this year.
Oh, I think there's no doubt that the ACC has become the premier conference in women's basketball with the addition of Notre Dame and next year Louisville. And we already have, Duke, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, NC. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I think there's no doubt that ACC women's basketball is, one of the most competitive, probably the most competitive conference in the country. But, it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of that. It's exciting to have the players are excited to play against the very best players night in and night out. With our schedule, there's no doubt that every night is going to be a battle, whether we're at home or on the road. And I think it's an exciting time to be a part of the ACC because, getting the opportunity to play, again, Notre Dame and North Carolina and Duke. And, you could finish 4th or 5th in the ACC and make the Final Four. I mean, that's how strong this conference is.
Once again, Georgia Tech opens its season Friday against Coppin State, or is it Copen State? Much like Copenhagen or Coping.
Either way, I don't have a clue.
Coppin State, maybe? Who cares? That's who they open their season with. And then play Western Carolina Sunday. November 17th, they play at Tennessee. November 24th at Georgia. This is going to be a good Georgia Tech women's basketball team, folks. I know that the media types, and that includes me, have them finishing 5th in the ACC. But once again, I think that is just based on their 16-5 record last year and definitely no indication of what this team can do. I am interested to see Kayla Davis in a Georgia Tech uniform, however, interested to see what she can do on the Division I college level, especially in, as MaChelle Joseph said, you just heard it, especially in the best women's basketball conference in the country. And I wholeheartedly agree with her on that. We will podcast the interview with MaChelle Joseph that you just heard, and it'll be up on our Facebook page, Game On with KTB Davis. It'll also be on the Twitter feed at KTB Davis. So make sure that you check it out. Tell your friends, too, for those who couldn't listen on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. When we come back, Marketplace ticket giveaway. Don't act like you don't want it. And then we're going to talk a little Georgia football, move on to the Falcons and the Braves, and then game picks for the week. Come on back to Game On.